Okay, so I think I've met everybody at this point. My name is Dusty. I'm a lead architect over at Paragon, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about how to get a little bit more out of xMarketing. So,
mostly a room full of implementers.
So, start off with a question. So, how many Sitecore implementations have you done? Rough guess.
Myself personally, 10.
10, Bill?
Yeah, I'd probably be around there. They've all been big ones that take forever, though.
Okay, so about 10 other implementers.
About 10 or 12. Depends on whether you count number of sites or number of clients.
Number of projects, I would say.
Number of projects, probably closer to 20.
Okay, so we're at 40. So you said your firm was just starting to get into Sitecore. How many Sitecore implementations have you ever done? Three? No worries. We start somewhere. Okay, so of those 10, how many of those launch with any significant use of xMarketing?
None that I can think of. None that I can.
Zero.
1.5. Zero. Does that include personalization?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, maybe 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've done quite a few that had personalization, but it's all like custom stuff, not like built-in goals and campaigns and stuff like that. The answer with personalization is probably about half of the plan. But with using the actual xMarketing, the answer probably closer to 0.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of the 3, any with xMarketing? Sorry. Gotta give the new guy a hard time. So this is, I have heard that exact same story more times in my Sitecore career than I can count. And even at Paragon, a lot of the implementations, especially in the early, launched a site with no xMarketing utilization whatsoever. It's almost always the story of we plan to get the site launch with no xMarketing. A lot of good reasons go into that. You've got timeline constraints, you've got budget constraints, and the other big one you have for a lot of people is it's kind of difficult to implement your digital strategy when you don't have essentially your canvas, your site up and running. So a lot of customers make a intentional decision, all right, we're going to wait until phase 2 to do this. The other side of that, though, is phase 2 for almost all the clients I can think of where they planned it that way almost never gets off the ground. There's a number of reasons that go into that. So one of the biggest reasons they struggle, and I'm guessing this matches all of your experiences, is when you launch a Sitecore site with no xMarketing utilization, you almost always have a disappointed customer.
Nobody really buys
Sitecore because it's a cool CMS. Not that it isn't, but if you ask them why did they buy Sitecore, the story is almost always they showed us the Jetstream demo. We love the idea of being able to figure out who our customers were, being able to personalize to them based on that.
And
so you really get a lot of disappointment out the gate when you launch with none of that. The other side of it is there's a huge gap a lot of times between what the digital strategy is and how it actually matches with the technical tool. If you've got a good idea of who your customers are, what your personas are, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can easily translate that into the technical tool. This gap really grows a lot when you go into the implementation with the expectation we're just going to worry about the CMS for now, and we're going to worry as a phase 2 about closing that gap.
They expect that they're going to
be able to solve it with training. All right, they're going to teach me how to use Sitecore, but that's a very, very broad
body of data.
So that gap being as big as it is really makes it a challenge to get there. So
how do we fix this?
How do we get more value out of Sitecore at site launch? The first thing and the biggest thing I would suggest is we need to change the way we think about it.
Sitecore, we think
of it a lot as a CMS, as an odd data point. if you go to dice.com, Indeed, search for Sitecore developer, almost all of those ads are going to characterize it as Sitecore developer or experience with another CMS.
But
Sitecore is billing it as an experience management platform. So what does that mean other than a piece of marketing speak that Sitecore uses? And it has a fundamental assumption baked into it that I don't expect to present the same experience to one customer that I do to another customer.
That's why
it's important to get some of that idea into the solution out of the gate and get that assumption built in.
So
that's really point number one. And so how do you actually turn that into something actionable, particularly when you have things like budget constraints, timeline constraints, where you can't really do the full digital strategy? And the idea is you need to launch with some minimum viable amount of digital strategy as part of the site at site launch. This really goes a long way in getting over that disappointment aspect of the initial site launch. One of the big reasons that you can't get phase 2 off the ground is when you've had disappointed stakeholders, you can't really get the organizational buy-in to commit additional resources to actually get that digital strategy up and running. And you really have customers who are questioning whether or not the platform is actually going to meet their marketing needs. So you don't necessarily need a lot of digital strategy. You don't need your full, every aspect of your site really speaking to your customers, but you need to be able to show I can make this tool, I can make this platform speak to my customers at an individual level and create a custom experience for each of them.
I think we should start at least small, but just do something at the beginning. Not just start pushing it for always forward a project to not having nothing in it.
Yes, you definitely want to start small. Sorry guys, on the phone, we're losing display again because I keep stepping on that cord.
If it's like it's against the wall, and I'll just turn it this way, just so.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea.
Once you get it back.
There we go. And here's where we're at. So yes, absolutely this is something we want to start small with, and that actually speaks to one of the other ways that sites launch with zero digital strategy. Occasionally you'll have customers who are very ambitious and they want to tackle the entirety of the digital strategy out of the gate. There's two big problems with that. One, digital strategy is a feedback loop. You're not really going to know whether or not you're making good marketing decisions until you can see them in action and see whether or not this is actually generating more value for my customers, is getting more clicks. And the other thing is it's just extremely overwhelming to try and do all of it at once. So yeah, out of the gate, you definitely want to start very small and pick very easy, simple, high confidence scenarios that you can implement.
All right, so what's the principle
of how we get there? So, experience management first approach. The driving idea behind it is that the authoring experience needs to present in a way that is going to guide a content author through implementing the digital strategy. So what exactly does that mean? What exactly does that mean? So since mostly a room full of implementers, one of the things we all know from Sitecore development is when you're building a site, as you said earlier, a lot of time a page is composed of multiple items. The information architecture that underlies the sites that we develop is often extremely sophisticated. That is what makes using the experience manager extremely important, because you can't reasonably expect a content author to have to understand the underlying information architecture in order to be able to author on the site. The same principle can apply to your digital strategy. I don't necessarily need a content author to understand that I have these different customer segments if I can create authoring tools that understand that.
And we'll get into some examples
of exactly what this looks like in practice. So a couple of pieces of terminology that are relevant to this. So the first one is stencil. Stencil is just a fancy term. It's a content authoring tool that allows a author to create new pages or components with placeholder content that implies the purpose and guides the content author in the experience. So if you don't do anything in creating new components, they'll add new component to a page, you'll get the, empty title, this field has no text, this field has no text, and an empty ugly image block. So
Putting some
placeholder content in there, some more Ipsum text for a body copy or a article title here, or something to that effect is going to help guide the content author through creating the content in that. So what a marketing stencil is this takes that concept a little bit further.
Not only
do you have content, placeholder content in there that is going to guide it through authoring it, but it's going to guide them through crafting the digital experience. So let's take a look at
what that looks like.
In practice. So I'm actually gonna. So for an example here, we have our Paragon coffee site, hence the coffee over there. Please take some with you because I don't want to take all that home. Okay, so content-wise, pretty straightforward site here. We've got a coffee shop with some e-commerce under the shop and a blog and article section.
And pretty simple
and straightforward from a content perspective. So starting with the idea of
what exactly
stencils are. So going and looking at our shop, and taking a look at what the authoring experience for that looks like. So our insert options under the shop, we got a generic product to start with. And take a look at what this gives us in the experience editor. And again, the idea here behind stencils is
some placeholder
content that's going to guide them through the authoring experience.
So we've got a relatively simple product
page, product title, price, and over here on the right we have a you might also like bar. So
perfect example of something
that we would have target differently based on our different customer types. So
this is just a straightforward
stencil with no marketing effort into it whatsoever. What we also have under here are 5 different marketing stencils: a coffee product, tea product, accessories, and baked goods, good each with tea and coffee. These create almost exactly the same type of page that we just looked at, but there's some differences here that go back to the idea I was talking about abstracting out the digital strategy from a content author. I don't necessarily need my content authors to understand that I am targeting these different customer segments differently. All I need them to understand is what type of products they're creating. So if I go a little closer and compare my tea product and my coffee product. There we go, drag you over. And again, some simple placeholder content. The big difference we have here is we scroll down to the tracking, we can see we already have profiling assigned to this product. We know if somebody is looking a lot at tea products, we've got a good idea of what their product interest is. And if we go to coffee, we've got the same concepts. We know if they're interested in coffee products, they're a different customer type. I don't necessarily need my content authors to understand that. I just need them to understand what types of products that they're creating. So if we create a new coffee product,
we already know we don't have to worry
about assigning the profiling to this. Or at least as the initial state. This is certainly something as your digital strategy evolves, items that you'll want to revisit.
But what does our
experience editor look like when creating a new coffee product? So the big difference that we have here is we mentioned earlier the you might also like bar is something that is a good target for personalization, something where we very much expect to have different customer experiences based on our different customer types. So if we inspect this component, we already have built in different segment targets for coffee lover and tea lover. And again, out of the box, no need for the content author to come and personalize it afterwards. The other thing that we have as part of our authoring experience here is we come down, we see these we have three different editor panels. One for a default or unknown customer, one for our coffee lover, and one for our tea customer. And we have completely abstracted out the digital strategy from the content authors. We have no need to understand why these things are different, but the stencil speaks for them in that, all right, I've got basically instructions here as part of the authoring experience that I need to go fill in these pieces of content, and they're managing the entire digital strategy without even needing to understand it. So this really serves us well for our customer segments. There's another facet of this, and generally speaking, when you're talking about the minimum viable digital strategy implementation, you generally want to pick two of three things between customer profiling, lead or traffic value based personalization, or customer segment based personalization. That tends to box it in well enough to keep it manageable. So here's an example of segment based personalization. So we also have an example here of traffic value based personalization. Going over to our blog and article section, your content here is structurally going to be the same regardless of what type of content you're creating. But this is an example where you have many different scenarios why you would want a blog or article. Taking a little bit of a contrived example, but for example, I might want to have articles or blogs about new trends in the coffee, new types of coffee that are becoming popular. I want to publish those on my site so my customers see me as somebody who's up to date on trends and sees me as an authority on the issue. It's valuable traffic, but if I'm a coffee shop owner, what is really going to be valuable to my bottom line is if I've got a customer who is reading about an event that I have coming up. Or potentially if I have a new product offering, those are going to be much more valuable product types. So in the case of our blog and article section, we've got a stencil for each one of those. A general information article, coffee house event, and a new offering. And if we go look at the stencils, take a look at how they're different from one another. Exactly that digital strategy manifest. So in the case of our general information, where is our tagging for that? We have a lead score of 1 associated with that. For our events, we've got a lead score associated of 2. And new offering, which is really what's going to be valuable to me, we have an offering base of 4. And again, abstracting out the digital strategy. My content authors don't need to know why one is more valuable than the others. They just need to know what kind of content they're creating. The other thing that this gives me the opportunity to do with content like this is I can bake the full digital journey into what interactions I want with the customer. So taking the example of an event.
First thing I want to do with
an event is I want the customer to engage. I want to inform them about it. I want them to know that it exists, and that is very valuable to me. If I can, I want to get them to sign up for it and actually commit to coming to the event. And if I want to press my luck even further, once I've got them to do that, I want to see if I can get them to evangelize it on social media and push it out there for other potential customers to see.
So let's take a look
at how we have that manifested. Create a new coffee house event. All right, so we have the body of our event right in our center content body, and as you probably expected from the segmentation piece, we already have our call to action over here on the right, personalized. So for customers who have not interacted with it, who have not gone down the digital journey, the initial state is showing the sign-up form.
Once they've signed up, I'm going to see if I can
get them to share it on social media.
And if I can get them that
And if I can get them that far, then I'm
there we go.
Then I'm just gonna thank them for their participation. And coming in here looking at the rules, we have the full digital journey baked into our personalization scenarios. Out the gate, where sign up has been triggered, and where share the event goal has also been triggered.
And again, we have
these editor panes that automatically correspond to each of those phases of the digital journey, without any need of my content author to understand how that journey is taking place. They know they need to come in here and create content for it. All right, so that's about what we got for samples, and I'm starting on the wrong slide again. So the idea is, and again, it just goes, it doesn't have to be the full digital strategy. It does not have to tackle all of the hopes and dreams of the marketing department. But by starting with a little bit of it, then you create that confidence that this platform can get me where I need to go, and you create the scaffolding that is going to get them there. First stage is not about making good marketing decisions out of the gate, so you always want to start with simple, high confidence scenarios, and scenarios that you're not really going to lose much if you get wrong.
And
same for the segmentation. And the other thing this does is it really sets the expectation with the client. Really getting to that jet stream style of site is a continuous, ongoing investment. You're going to need to make it, but here you can see you actually can do it with your site, and it can get you there. Questions?
I like the stencils, those are kind of cool. I like think about trying to do something like that too, especially with bedding in the tracking and tracing and all that. So you don't have to wire it up, because like you said, that's something that's kind of an afterthought. Let's just get it going and then try to make it work.
Yeah, and that's really what we're talking about in the closing the gap in the aftermath. I mean, a little bit of an eye to it early really sets the stage to execute on it effectively. But treating it as a kind of afterthought, as kind of a bolt-on, really makes it hard to get the momentum that you need to actually get to a good digital strategy.
Yeah, a lot of times it is a phase two where it really a lot of it
can't be good at the first time anyway, and as you said, the strategies are always movement, so you each try it and see what's going on and how does it react. I've been so far, and I had 26 clients implementing, and I think there's 4 of them using those features right now. So there's a gap to fill for sure, and I think the way you present it will help that because they won't be knowing that they are providing those kind of solutions to Sitecore. They will build their interface without knowing that it's providing some useful tips to marketers.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I would definitely say is this also helps in setting the stage with your implementation teams, that getting them to think of it as a marketing platform, getting them to put top of mind the real reason that people bought this platform really goes a long way into getting that engagement between the tech team and the digital strategy team.
Exactly. But from the process point of view, is it hard to make marketing people work with the tool actually?
So it's not so hard to get the marketing people on board. So one of the real challenges is, like I said, that gap between what the tool does and what the actual implementation looks like. And the expectation on the part of the marketers is always, well, they're going to train me how to use Sitecore. But training you how to use Sitecore doesn't really get you very far. At Paragon, we have custom training that we try and sell with just about every implementation. Because I can teach you how to use Sitecore, but that doesn't necessarily going to correspond very tightly with your implementation. So getting the marketing people on board doesn't tend to be too difficult. There are some challenges in getting them to articulate what they want sometimes, but getting them to the discussion table doesn't tend to be difficult. Getting the implementation teams isn't really difficult either, but you have to get them to treat the marketing goals as a first-class deliverable. Getting the pages up and running, the components built, yes, that is all well and good, but they bought it for the marketing, so you need to have at least some of that, some of those deliverables completed.
So it doesn't seem like there's any questions. Line, it looks like. I don't have any questions, but I don't know if anybody else does. But thank you for presenting. That was very informative.
Thank you for having me. Probably going to be putting some white papers out on this, so keep an eye on Paragon's site for the kind of deep technical how-to of some of these. It's as with anything with Sitecore, it's not particularly difficult, but you do need to know the hook points.
For sure.
What do you think for that?